Good day, participants, to this TOCICO conference. Thank you very much for the opportunity to participate in this distinguished lineup of speakers, and I really do value the opportunity to be here. I was requested to talk a little bit about how we took TOC and how we did the journey from building to capitalizing in our business, and also talk a little bit about how we pivoted our business as a consequence and really accelerated our business as a consequence of COVID-19. My name is Johan Steyn. I am the Managing Director of Aerosud Aviation in South Africa, and I would love to share with you our journey. The content of the presentation will follow the following trend. I'd like to give some background about our company, share with you a short video, we call it the why video. Then I'll spend some time showing you how we developed the strategy and set the strategy, then specifically focus on the aviation market reality that we have been in roughly the last 20 years. I'd like to share with you some results and specific practical implementations of how we implemented TOC in our business. And last but not least, take a little bit of a look forward also on the life after COVID-19. On the right hand side, you see a photograph of some of our really wonderful employees. I want to mention to you that we have an average age in our company of 35 years, a direct consequence of us training people from a post-school environment. You would recognize that South Africa has a diverse political and complex political background. We have complex diversity in our demographics. However, I'm happy to say that from a company perspective, we are truly an integrated group of people that have aligned our personal goals and our company goals over many years. But like everybody else in the world, we have to also adjust to a COVID and a post-COVID environment. This is a fairly busy slide showing you some of the key characteristics of our company. I will start in the middle top. You will recognize that we are 660 individuals. We have a turnover of $70 million. We spend money on R&D, mostly in the domain of 3D printing and 3D printing optimization, as well as digital offerings predominantly. In the middle of the page, you'll see that we have roughly 15 close associates in the South African context, local subcontract manufacturing. You would recognize immediately that we are far away from established supply chains and manufacturing capacities. So we have to be, in a way, self-sufficient. Another significant characteristic of our business is the fact that we have 300 international suppliers. This is of course mandated through the OEMs and the quality processes, and very often you have single source suppliers in a foreign country. On the left hand side at the bottom there, it is however also interesting to note that our business do have roughly a 40% added value, and that makes it an interesting manufacturing proposition in a developing country like South Africa. On the left-hand side, you will recognize some of the quality and international third-party accreditations and approvals that one obviously have to have in this kind of business. And on the right-hand side, you see our 5 main customers. In the end, Airbus and Boeing is our ultimate customer, and the work spread and the turnover is spread roughly equally against between these 5 customers. This slide aims to show the technologies that we have in our company. You will see the middle circle, the inner circle, really looking at the primary manufacturing techniques, the outer circle, looking at how do you bring these together into more complex assemblies and complex products. What is important to note as well is that our company has some very interesting skills in terms of digital product experience. I'm talking here about design, concurrent design, also PLM integration. We have a long history going back to the 80s in terms of system engineering approach. We have obviously quality approval systems and operational systems that are compliant. And we have a fairly strong ICT and digital skills base in the company. And you'll see the relevance of that a little bit later on. Then we also have interests in specific external manufacturers, predominantly in machining, and a specialized company in non-destructive testing, in metallics as well as composite products. Then, as part of our social responsibility and really our excitement about new things, we also get involved with company incubation. In this specific instance, it is a South African designed internal combustion engine for the general aviation market. And we have been incubating this company over the last 2 years, and we certainly believe that they would be able to bring that product also to the market. This picture here shows you some of the products that we manufacture. We have a big variety from fairly elementary parts and assemblies to really complex welded products or complex assemblies taking a few hundred parts to make up a final assembly, very often also including electrical wiring, systems like water systems, boilers and things like that. Some of the biggest products that we have delivered in the past is, for example, single aisle full galley sets, specifically on A320 and also on Boeing business jets. This slide here aims to show the evolution of the company since our formation in 1990. As people at that time, the founders of the company came from the defense domain, but they started to work immediately to diversify into commercial aviation. Throughout the 90s, we were generally not successful. However, in 2000, we had the first breakthrough with Boeing. I would say the next breakthrough for us was in 2007, when we became design and build risk share partner on the A400M program. That obviously gave us an opportunity to really participate in a domain where concurrent engineering and PLM integration and really working in world-class design cycle was really a big learning school for us. And we could also, of course, figure out that we could participate very successfully at that level. For your interest, in the end, we worked in 3 different countries on 6 different work packages that we are still responsible for today. In 2014, the company reorganized itself, and we eliminated all defense-related activities. So we are a purely commercial aviation entity today. We also added new technology, and I'll talk a little bit about Aerosud Octai in this presentation as well. Now I'd like to switch over to a short video. We call it the Why video. Right, from this point on, I'm going to start to set the scene in terms of our company goal setting and the processes that we went through as far as that is concerned. So what you will see on the screen is a textbook version of a goal tree. And for us, it is clear that the goal is to keep on flourishing, to keep on being creative in how we position our company and how we grow our company. If you've read the goal, you will recognize the key principles of increasing throughput, minimizing operating expense, and minimizing investment. So for us, the journey started back in 2008. In fact, it's the first time that I read the goal. The fact of the matter is, at that time, we probably did not fully understand how to implement the goal. We could associate very clearly with the principle of T, O, E, and I, but we could not figure out exactly where to start. So the reality is we probably procrastinated for close to 2 years. And then we started to work together with an expert in the field of TOC, and we started slowly to develop the process going forward. Along the way, I would say some of the bigger discoveries that we made was certainly the learnings around throughput accounting. We were blessed to find out that one of the authorities in this domain actually lives quite close to us. We figured that out only after a couple of years, actually. I would say the next big learning and big discovery for us was to get exposure to the logical thinking processes of Bill Detmer. In fact, we had the opportunity, two of us, to participate in a logical thinking process course in Paris with Bill and a group of people. We loved it so much that we then later on invited Bill to come to South Africa, where we could expose roughly 15 of our senior managers and also some of our supply chain participants in the process of logical thinking, and that was extremely valuable. That happened around 2017, I think it was. Then we have also worked with other leading experts such as Philip Marris, specifically on critical chain project management implementation and other things as well. And we have also worked with the GRID International System. You would get to hear a little bit from that later on today as well. So for us, the first time that we had enough conviction in our heart to actually publish a goal tree and to hang it in our main entrance was actually in 2018. And I have to say that we have since reviewed our goal tree every year, and our new goal tree is about to go up on the wall in the main entrance in the next couple of days again. So during our review and our first publishing of a goal tree in 2018, we specifically realized that up till that point, we have been focusing really on the creation and the building of our manufacturing business, where we do design, certification, and manufacturing of aviation products. We realized at that time, when we did the in-depth study and the really testing the goal tree, that we have also other skills in the company, and that we needed to really realize that and also position that quite differently. So at that time, of course, we would also acknowledge that the world of Industry 4.0 is all around us, and we are bombarded with new ideas. But we started to realize at that time that there is potentially also a service revenue or a data revenue activity that we could spin out of our current business. And that set at that time a specific direction that we will share with you also at the end of this presentation of what are we doing in the digital space as an alternative offering or as an expanded offering of our business, over and above the hardware premium that is our core business and has been our core business for years. So the first half of the presentation, I'm going to stick to the aviation market reality, the business that we have been building over the last 20 years. This world, of course, is dominated by the commercial aviation big brothers. This slide on the right-hand side is an extract out of an Airbus publication last year that shows the growth and the growth opportunities pre-COVID. Of course, in this world, we realized already a long time ago that some of the drivers are massive rate increases, significant pressure on cost reduction, the globalization and the global competition and global collaboration in this market, and the need for innovative solutions and innovative offerings. And that in itself drives effects that really causes chaos, I guess, in many senses. So you'll see on the screen a few of the conflicts and the inputs to the conflict that exist. Price reduction is a very strong one. Risk management, risk oversight, the cost of oversight, the cost of third-party approvals, etc., that drives really this domain very strongly. And in the end, we described it best by saying that this conflict is ultimately between profitability and reliability. And if you want to build and capitalize on a business in this domain, you need to be able to find a breakthrough solution in the conflict between profitability and reliability. So that is what we then focused on essentially for the past 10 years. We believe that the critical success factors that is necessary to survive on the one hand, but also to thrive in this market is driven by the following three critical success factors. You have to produce more and significantly more. You have to reduce your work in progress. You have to increase the speed at which you produce, and of course the speed at which you create revenue. Last but not least, you clearly have to improve your efficiency to drive cost reduction, because there is where the customer is obviously very intensely focusing on our behavior and on our offering. For us, we could find really a simple match made in heaven, maybe even, between theory of constraint and what the business reality for us is. So theory of constraint has a track record of increasing throughput and increasing it rapidly if you know where to look and what to do. Similarly, reduce investment, again, quickly, if you know where to look and if you know how to do it. Improving flow, and last but not least, improving also the efficiency, or then the ratio between throughput and operating expense. So for us, really a no-brainer to implement TOC to meet this market reality and to address this core conflict. So the next slides will show you how we have used TOC not only in setting the strategy, but also the operations and the cultural development of our company. So the starting point for us is clear that there has to be a successful intersection between strategy, operations, and the culture of your people. And that was really for us the starting point, and that is where the implementation of TOC was really driven from. And it's important to note that it has to be driven. It does not happen by itself. It has to be a strategy that one embark on, and one have to drive that strategy through all the layers of the onion. This is quite a busy slide, but it aims to share with you what we understand to be the body of knowledge of TOC and the different areas and how we implemented solutions in each of these areas. I'm going to take it into 3 chunks. I'm going to start at the top with strategy and financial measures. And there you will immediately recognize the development of the goal tree and our learnings of logical thinking processes and how we applied that in developing and documenting the strategy. You would also recognize on the top right there the implementation of throughput accounting and the aspects associated with that. Then, more on the operational practical side, you will see the production operations. You would see the elements of some of the key elements there. Clearly is the identification and the management of CCRs or critically constrained resources, the deployment of 5 focusing steps, and also a combination of using lean techniques such as 7 or 8 wastes and really exploiting a CCR performance. Then when we look at inventory management, going down on the right hand side, you will see that we deployed dynamic buffer management, and I will show some specific examples later on. Similarly, on project management, we deployed critical chain project management. Again, I have slides on that. When we get to marketing and sales, we have also used the TOC methodology of developing an unrefusable offer and a sales and marketing solution. What is also interesting is we collaborate nowadays with a European company that acts as our front end, and they also use a TOC in their unrefusable offer and marketing solution. So it's again a very interesting synergy that we could find working even with a partner in that domain. Last but not least, we have developed also a detailed strategy and tactics tree. We called it Inspiring and Managing People. In Bill Detmer's book, I think it is chapter 8, he speaks about changing the status quo. And clearly this is one of the challenges that one have. You have to address that very decisively, and you need to address that very comprehensively. In our own case, this part of the journey for us was strongly coupled with the solution offered by Grid International, and it offers a really unique solution where you can in fact measure culture, you can measure group culture, and you can also measure the improvement of group culture. Very interesting learning. The middle of the slide there shows the fact that we created and implemented this strategy. We called it Tlhokomela Partners. Tlhokomelo is a Tswana word that really means focus. And that in the end is probably what TOC in the final analysis is really all about. Just as a matter of interest, South Africa has 11 official languages, of which Tswana is one. I'm moving on to share with you some of the results that we have achieved with TOC and in our journey over the last couple of years. I will read through only the highlights. So if we look at the internal production lead time, you will recognize there that we managed to bring that down from 50 days to 70 days. That was roughly over a 1-year period. I think we could have done it quicker. We were not in the beginning as successful as we should have been with identification of CCRs. Later on, we came to new insights of how to do that. We could increase our reliability to our customers substantially. We reduced our inventory, specifically work in progress, but also our bought out inventory quite significantly. We could improve our on-time delivery from 92% to 98%. We could reduce the delay in raw materials, meaning essentially stockouts, from roughly 8% to 1.5%. And we could, of course, increase significantly our throughput through our factory, essentially with the same investment, with some additional operating expense in some areas. And last but not least, we could also show a new product introduction or new part introduction reduction from an average of 120 days down to 80 days. And even today, the sole reason why we cannot do better than this has to do most of the time with a full kit not being available from the customer. Talking about design, engineering data, specifications, things like that. Then, as far as the strategy is concerned, we can without a doubt say that everybody in the company understands the strategy through the tools that we've used, through the goal tree that we have published, and we use that as a communication tool to each and every person in the company. We have also successfully been able to utilize the goal structure and the definition of the goal and its critical success factors and necessary conditions to help us also manage and identify risks. And the key risks in the end is the risk of not achieving the goal. And once you have a nested goal tree below that for each area or for each department or for each function in the company, then it becomes actually very simple to link back your risk profile and your risk mitigation actions back to the goal tree. And we found that quite useful. Last but not least, we believe we do have a happy and cohesive and adaptable workforce. As I have already said, we worked extensively with the GRID International system, where some of the key advantages is you make an effort to align personal and company goals, and that you really strive to create the soundest culture in the company and in your operations. From here on, I'm going to go into a little bit of detail in terms of what we deployed in our operations. I'm starting off with a critical chain project management, where we could demonstrate clearly that you generally can cut the lead time for a project by 20 to 30% as a minimum. I included this slide just to show the principle of how CCPM work. Clearly, some of the key learnings here is that you need to create a focus, you need to eliminate things like multitasking, and when you set up your planning, you look at the actual time that it will take to perform a task, remove the several layers of buffer and fat that people naturally would build in, and you then create a project plan that has then a critical chain to it, and then it has a buffer at the end. I think hopefully most people have heard of it or have heard of the concept, and I'm not trying to go into too much detail here. From a practical point of view, we have deployed CCPM in every part of our company successfully. Give you an example. We have rolled out a new ERP solution with a significant rollout in our company with more than 200 seats using CCPM. We have made an investment of roughly $20 million in capital equipment and facilities using CCPM. And we continue to use it for any new part introduction or any new product industrialization. We use it at that level. Practically, of course, you focus here on planning, execution, and control. What is really so useful of CCPM is the visual aspect. And we have also introduced Kanbanize as a way of tracking individual tasks and reporting on individual tasks. You'll see a small caricature or a mascot on the left-hand side. That was an interesting feature that we introduced. It was an easy way to teach people, especially in the beginning, about multitasking or focus. And you would have seen the mascot being passed on from one person to another person as the task progressed. And that was a way to reinforce the principle of focus, of not multitasking, and who exactly was on the critical chain at any given time. Of course, we did away with it eventually, but it was a fun way to bring it really to a practical way of understanding and really bringing it to life in the company when we introduced it first time. I think it's also worth to specifically, as a lead into the next portion, explain to you that we are not afraid of IT. We are not afraid of digital integration. In fact, we probably from time to time overdo it. But we have digital skills in a number of areas. I'm going to read through it very briefly. Manufacturing Execution System, MES, Enterprise Resource Planning System, ERP, Quality Management, Product Lifecycle Management, and also integrated with customers, which makes it quite interesting. Industrialization Management, Customer Systems, where we have to work and can integrate with third-party systems, supplier systems, and also our HR systems. Our backbone in our company is SQL database principles, and we have skills that can really support integration across products quite easily. The slide is very busy, but it just aims to show the supply chain. You will see 4 blocks there, and on those 4 specific blocks, I will dig into a little bit deeper to explain to you what we have done in each of those areas and how did we build the supply chain in a digital way, in a TOC way, really taking it from the demand into our key accounts area that look essentially after our customers. That is where the demand is certainly first reviewed and filtered, because very often customers can also send you on a garden path that may not lead to utopia necessarily, and you need to filter it. You need to manage that very carefully and very assertively, I would say. Then clearly we have new part introduction, engineering and industrialization processes. We have procurement and stock management processes. I mentioned already earlier on that we have more than 300 suppliers, and this in itself makes it a really complex problem, but we have some interesting solutions that we have implemented there, and I will share that with you. Then in the factory itself, clearly we have a significant number of challenges here ourselves, managing 600 people, managing capital equipment, special processes, etc. We'll share with you how we do it there. The distribution side is fairly simple, I would say. We are again responsible to deliver product not only into the main hubs, but also into secondary hubs like Morocco, like Mexico, and other areas as well. And we manage that full distribution cycle ourselves. Of course, the number one at the bottom there is the SKU integration. It helps you to see end-to-end status of your product, of your processes, and of your flow. And that in itself drives, of course, the desire to keep the lead time throughout the system as low as humanly possible. This slide speaks to the key integrations and the key systems that we use in our company. If we start in the middle on the left-hand side, we have many years of fundamental knowledge of PLM and digital product development and information. In the middle of this picture is our ERP system. We do believe that an ERP is the best suited to be the final connection point and the final integrator of all the information. On the top, you will see our manufacturing information system. It is called MISIS. And at the bottom of the page, you will see our income supply chain, where we use an integrated solution with Syspro called Tempo. And then on the right-hand side is where we manage, in the end, our manufacturing and our manufacturing execution in the production environment itself. As I already said, this solution is run on an SQL database, and integration is done at that level. If we then look specifically at the inbound supply chain and the management there, the statistics on the left-hand side is maybe useful. We manage 3,000 different bought-out SKUs. We bring those in from more than 300 suppliers. About 65% of our product comes from the US, and the balance comes out of Europe. What is important to note is that we have been able to transition 85% of those SKUs into a dynamic buffer management domain. We have roughly 14% on vendor managed inventory into our system, and we have less than 1% on MRP. On the other hand, we have lead times that vary from 30 days to 220 days. So I'm going to share with you some of the specific solutions that we have implemented. First of all, you would recognize dynamic buffer management in the inbound process. And of course, this is reviewed dynamically. We have some interesting reminders and screen pop-ups and systems that is linked with the way in which we do the dynamic buffer management. As far as flow management is concerned, again, we have a clear view of when a SKU is in black, red, yellow, green, or blue, and the lead time and the time in cell is automatically reported. We have a clear view of how requisitions to suppliers are bucketed, approved, reviewed before the release. And then what is very interesting, and I want to dwell a little bit on this one, is that we have also been very successful in engaging our suppliers, whether they be big or small. And as I already said, most of them are overseas. But we could introduce to them the principle of changing priorities on purchase orders depending on what we require in our factory. So we share with our suppliers a weekly report that shows them our buffer situation in our factory on the SKUs that they supply into our factory. And in accordance with that priority setting, we have a working relationship that they would change priorities on their side, updated priorities for us. And that is very powerful. And most people would probably not venture into such a conversation. But we've been fairly successful in getting that collaboration going. Then we are currently developing a next step where we will also really integrate a DDMRP operational functionality in our system. And last but not least, we can also here look at the generation of requisitions of orders, and you can also see again the color theme coming through very strongly in the way that we manage and that we communicate. Then moving on to the manufacturing execution specifically, Here you'll see that we manage 6,800 SKUs and made-ins, as we call it, or work in progress. So we manage 4,500 of them in a make-to-availability environment and around 2,300 into a make-to-order environment. In our factory, we have 15 different flow streams, and it creates, of course, a significant amount of spaghetti from time to time. But the system is still fully integrated with our ERP system, and of course the overall business operations is driven by the ERP. So we can, for example, give each cell performance data in terms of its throughput expectations, in terms of the colors of the product that moved, meaning the priorities of the product that has moved through the cell. We would be able to report on buffer management status. You would again immediately recognize the black, red, yellow, and green and blue. You would be able to share with the production management the SKU in detail data such as time and cell or time through system. We would be able to report also on a value stream and the several stages of the value stream being linked together with each other. And very important is we have a single priority system that is always the single priority. There is no different priority settings. Everybody in the company can see the single priority of an individual part as it goes through the factory. And that is really a very key feature in a system like this. You can simply not have different views of what the priority of a certain SKU in your system is. I'm getting to the last quarter of my presentation, and in this area I want to address a little bit the new market reality and also our digital offering. As we all know, we all got affected by the COVID situation over the last 3 months. And it's really important to realize that as much as we are maybe uncertain about what the future is, we also see the upside. And we see the upside because we know that we have a system that is robust and that will work for us going forward. So in this new market reality, if we look at our manufacturing business, we see now exactly the opposite what we saw literally 3 months ago. Clearly there is now a drastic reduction in demand. We are confronted with price increases, logistics supply chain costs that goes through the roof. We find ourselves where customers and countries may review their strategy in terms of outsourcing or insourcing. We see a massive disruption in the global supply chains. However, we do believe that things like innovation and diversification, and specifically digitalization, provides new opportunities. And because we have already started in 2018, we believe that this could be a way to, in fact, accelerate that conversation. So we are now talking about stabilization and then growth. So for us, the key conflict today is, in fact, between stability and growth, to secure our company and to secure the way forward. So the new reality for us, if we look at what does the goal tree now look like, we see lots of reds there. So clearly the throughput has been severely affected. The operating expense is overcooked in a big way. We sit with massive investments in capital equipment, in inventory, etc. And now one have to deal with all of these. So again, we're using the methodology of the goal, of setting new targets, managing towards new targets, tracking and reporting because we have perfect tools in place to manage that positioning to a new reality for our manufacturing business, whilst at the same time we can accelerate the ideas that we have for our digital offering. So the last few slides is focusing on the digital business that we started to develop in 2018. I've already mentioned the fact that we had background skills in design of digital products and certification. We have the skills of TOC automation, and we then started to really work towards a digital offering. So if one look at this world nowadays, it's very colorful, and there's all kinds of new ideas being promoted. So in the spirit of colorfulness, we also created a company called Aerosud Octai, and we positioned it to say that it's agile, it will be disruptive, and we will not settle for the norm, as the square orange and the color is then also depicting there. So I have 3 slides here just showing you some of the offerings that we have been specifically working on. The first one is an integrated digital platform where we really focus on the principle of a single version of the truth in the digital design process. We have decided to work with a RAS Innovator as the key platform for that. It is very powerful, and it lends itself to highly customizable solutions. It is also a cost-effective offering if you are in an SME domain, and we have found that this is one of the best ways and the best products to promote, to link people, data, business processes, and PLM applications. So this is an offering that we have developed, and we have also specifically created that offering for some SMEs already. Another one that has a slightly different approach is where we have taken the full classical system engineering V-diagram and really developed the cyber physical analogy and systems that help you to develop that and to really execute that. And of course, there again, for most people, Excel is probably the most complicated PLM system that they've ever seen, especially in SMEs. And in that space, we have positioned a product called MWorks. It is a full end-to-end solution. It can be set up to be either customer-centric or supplier-centric. And in the end, it is a business platform that is end-to-end, and you have a really full digital solution throughout the process. So that's very interesting. We see a great potential for this product going forward. Last but not least, also with the advent of COVID pandemic outbreak in South Africa in March, we came together as an industry and as key players in the industry, and we decided to put a business platform and a technical solution forward to the development of critical resources and products to support also our local effort against COVID, as well as also wider into Africa specifically, and of course also into the world. We have an established medical supply fraternity in South Africa, but very small. And what we could do here is literally in 2 weeks, we could roll out a digital design and certification platform that complied with all the local and international medical certification approval processes, and we could use CCPM as the key program management tool during this process, and also now when product developments are taking place. There is a program running in South Africa called the National Ventilator Program, and we are already deeply involved in supporting companies that are developing medical products in that domain. And we see a future opportunity for this product, in fact, post-COVID, as a key product to help companies integrate and really use the opportunity, especially for SMEs going forward. I want to thank you for the opportunity to have been here with you today. You will see my contact details there, and we will, of course, during the Q&A session, be able to address some of those already today. Thank you very much.